Hi guys, this is our week 9 maths and this week we'll be looking at 3D space. This is Monday's lesson. Alright, our learning intention and goal for today is I can name three-dimensional objects as prisms. Alright, what I want you to start with is having a look at the shapes here. I want you to think about how many you remember the names of, because we have done a little bit of work on 3D shapes at the start of the year. So having you think about which one of these that you can remember the name of, and then in the next slide we'll go over the answers. So if you can pause your video, you don't have to write them down, just have a think in your head, just think, oh, I remember the name of this one, I don't remember this one. Just think of if you can remember the names and then we'll go over the answers. All right, so let's have a look. So the first one we have is a sphere. So if you were thinking of the word circle when you saw this one, you would be correct. It is a circle, but because we know we're looking at 3D objects, it's actually called a sphere because that is what the name of a 3D object of a circle is. The next one we have is cube, rectangular prism. So what we need to look at is we have a look at the shape here and we can see that it's a rectangle, and then we're adding that word prism on the end. So like I said at the start of our learning intention, we're able to label 3D objects as prisms. So you'll notice that there are quite a few on this sheet here with the word prism in them. So rectangular prism. If we have a look at this one here, we can see the shape here is a triangle, and we know then that this one is called triangular prism. So in order to work this out, because you can see on the side here that it's a rectangle, but it's not a rectangular prism, because what we need to think of is where we would cut the shape. So if we cut the shape down across that way there, we would get a triangle cut out like this. If we were cutting across it this way, it would give us a different shape and it wouldn't be even. But if we did the cut there, we would have a triangle, and that's how we know then that it's a triangular prism, thinking about what it would look like, I guess, if you were cutting a piece of it, like cutting a piece of cake. So we have rectangular prism. We then have a pyramid, and we know it's a pyramid because it comes to a point at the top. We have a cylinder, cone, triangular prism, which we just discussed. We then have pentagonal prism. So we can see that this is a pentagon at the front, and then we know it's a 3D object, so we call it a pentagonal prism. We can see that this shape here at the front is a hexagon, so we call this a hexagonal prism. And the last one we have is octagonal prism because we can see that this one is an octagon. So that's why it's good that we did our 2D shapes last week, so we can remember the names pentagon, hexagon, octagon. And now we apply this to when we're looking at 3D objects with the word prism on the end. All right, so let's sort these everyday items now according to what shape they are. So we have cube, rectangular prism, sphere, cylinder, square base, pyramid, and cone. And then we have these everyday items. So what you can do on a sheet of paper is you can write the word cube and then write down the items that match it or draw the picture that matches it. So for example, we might write blocks in the cube underneath cube because we've got some blocks there. And then, or you could just draw the picture of the blocks, sorry. The only shape I wanted to point out to you that you might not know the name of it, because you should be able to tell, this one's a suitcase here, and this one is a desktop computer hard drive like we have in the computer room. It's just standing up, but the ones in the computer room lay on the table flat like that. So this one, I will give you a clue, it is going into the rectangular prism section here. So you're sorting these everyday items according to their 3D object name. All right, now our optional activity for today is to find some items around your home to take some photos of that look like 3D objects. Insert your photo into your Google Doc and label them with the shape's name. So I don't want to see the name, let's say, for example, dice. I want you to write the word cube for the shape that this everyday object looks like. This is Tuesday's lesson. All right, and our learning intention for today is I can name the properties of three-dimensional objects. So yesterday we were focusing on naming the three-dimensional objects, and what we're going to do today is look at the properties, the things that make up these 3D objects. So to start with, if you can click the link to this website, and what this website will do is you can click on the different 3D objects and it will spin the shape around so that we can see them from different angles just to get ourselves familiar with them. And this is the website here, so just quickly just get rid of the pop-up, and you can see when you come on, you can see a cube and it will spin automatically, or you can change it to drag and then just drag it around to have a look at it. And you will see on the side the interesting facts. So it has 6 faces, 8 vertices, and there are a few different ones to look at. So we've got a square pyramid now where you can drag it around to look at it from the different angles. And then you can also do press the button explode, which will separate the shape into all its sides, so we can have a look at that. And yeah, that's the website. So you have a look yourself, have a look around at it, but there's just a little clip to show you as well. All right, now task for today is to fill in the table with the faces, edges, and vertices these shapes have, and use the website on the previous slide to look at the shape from different angles to help you. You will see that some of the answers are on that website too, so if you're using the website to fill this in, that's totally okay as well, because the thing with learning these is that they're never going to change. So once you remember it, you'll remember it, and it is important that you look at the website to look at the shape from different angles, and then thinking about the faces. So the faces are like this section here where I'll put a cross, then that part there, then that part there. Those are the only faces we can see on this shape from this angle, but there is a face on the bottom and there's one on the side here and one on the other side here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces for a cube. Edges are the edges are the like the lines on the sides. So edges are sometimes a bit trickier to count, and so that's why it will be good for you to have a look at the website. But you want to count the edges: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if you had something like at home, like a Rubik's Cube or a dice, you might use that to help you count the edges as well, because if we were in the classroom, we would be using our shapes to hold and count them. So it is hard when we're doing it on a computer. And the vertices are the corners. So we did look at the word vertices last week. So you want to count how many corners there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 4 on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8 in total there. So you've got the answers here, and you have to fill in the rest for these two, and then on the next slide as well, there's a couple more shapes to do, but you're welcome to use the website to help you as well. And so we've got a cone, cylinder, and triangular prism to do now as well. All right, the last activity we're going to be doing is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shapes here to sort. So shapes that roll and shapes that don't roll. What you can do is you can just create a list, so shapes that roll, and then write down the names into each side. So shapes that roll, shapes that don't roll, write down the names for the ones that go into each category. And what I want you to think about is, why do the shapes that roll roll, and why do the shapes that don't roll? So thinking about, do they have a flat side or flat edge, or do they have a curved side or curved edge? And our optional activity for today is to create a net of the object out of a box you have at home. So if you have a spare cereal box, you could use that. And what you need to do is you'll already have the flaps open from the top from eating your cereal, but then you want to open the flaps at the bottom as well, and then cut along the line here with some scissors, and then you'll have your net of the rectangular prism cut out for you there. If you don't have a cereal box, you could use a tissue box or something similar like that. And as this activity is optional, if you don't have those things, that's okay. You don't have to do this either. This is Wednesday's lesson. Okay, and our learning intention for today is I can recognize and create nets of 3D objects. So we have our 3D object here, which is our cube, and the net of the cube looks like this. So that means if I had my box and I was packing and I wanted to squash it so that it could go into the bin, and I flattened it perfectly because I like to be nice and neat, this is what it would look like. So if you did the optional activity yesterday and you cut open your cereal box, you would have seen that when it laid flat, it would look something like this. And the good thing with the cereal box is you probably could see the lines indented for the different sides as well, which is kind of like what the sides look like on our net of our cube here. So that's what we're going to look into further today. So we just have a couple of videos to watch at the start here. So watch the two videos which explain 3D object nets. So just have a watch of them first and then we'll go on to talking more about it. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to match the nets to their 3D objects. So one we can do already because we already looked at it in our learning intention is the net here, number 1, is going to match with A for the cube. So all you need to do is write down the heading nets of objects matching, something like that, and then you can just write the number 1 and then A for matching to the letter of the shape that the 3D object that the net matches with. If you want to use this table to record your answers in, you can, but you don't have to. You could just easily write them on a piece of paper or into your Google Doc. All right, guys, so what we're going to practice now is drawing the net of an object. So the first step we need to do is draw a square in the middle of your page. You will need to use a ruler to make sure that all your sides are the same length. So in the previous weeks, I've normally said make sure you've got something just with a straight edge, but for this activity, you really do need a ruler so that you can keep your sides consistently the same size. So I'm going to do it on my piece of paper now with you and show you what I mean. So I'm going to draw my first square and I'm going to make my first side I draw 5 centimeters long. So you can see here I've drawn my first line in the middle of my page and it's 5 centimeters long. And now that what that means for the rest of them is I'm going to now draw another line going up and I make sure again that that's 5 centimeters. And then I'm going to draw my next two to form a square, but I keep making sure that they're 5 centimeters because you need your shape to be the same size for your cube to work, for your net to work, sorry, or net of a cube. All right, so I've completed step 1 now. I've drawn my square and you can see that it's perfectly even because I made sure that all my sides were the same length. All right, now we're up to step 2, which says draw a square above your original square, making sure your sides are the same size as your first square. So like I said now, I need to make sure that my sides are the same length still. So I'm going to draw another line above of 5 centimeters. So you can see here, I just continued on from where I was on my shape here, and I just drew straight up for 5 centimeters. And now what I'll do is I'll draw up again for 5 and then across, but I won't need to do anything on this part here because I can already use the shape that I have already drawn. All right, so there you go. You can see that I have drawn my 2 squares now. All right, now the third step is to draw 2 squares below your original square. So I know that this one here is my original square. This one, sorry. And then now what I'm going to do is draw 2 below that. So you can draw them one at a time or you could draw 2 at once. It's up to you because we know that 5 plus 5 is 10. So essentially I'm drawing a line going down for 10 centimeters. And I just need to mark where the 5 centimeters is with a little mark. I don't know if you can see it, sorry, but that will indicate to me where the 5 centimeters is to go across. But you can do them one at a time as well. It's up to you. I'm just giving you the option to do both at once if that's what you want to do. All right, so now you can see that I have ended up with my 4 squares drawn and you can see that they're all the same, just like on the slideshow. All right, and step 4, I think this is the last step, is draw a square either side of your original square. So again, just making sure that it's 5 centimeters. And I'm starting on the left side, but it doesn't matter which side you start on. All right, so there is my net finished with my 2 on either side. And you can see that it nearly did take up my whole piece of paper here. That's why it's really important when step 1 where I say start in the middle of your page If you, of course, you can make it smaller, but you would be drawing your sides smaller than mine. I did mine 5 centimeters. It's up to you how big or small you make it, as long as the sides are all the same size, otherwise it won't work. All right, now optional activity here, if you have a look at all of these little combinations of squares, these are all different ways that you can have the net of a cube. So if you folded up any of these combinations of squares, they would all give you a cube, joining the sides together. So your optional activity for today is to choose one of these to draw, or you can choose to do more than one to draw them to create another net of a cube. This is Thursday's lesson. And we have the same learning intention as yesterday. I can recognize and create nets of 3D objects. All right, so we're going to draw the net of a square-based pyramid today, which is the net of the object you would have seen on the previous slide in our learning intention. So the first thing we need to do is start off with drawing a square in the middle of your page. And like yesterday, you want to make sure that the lengths are all the same size so that we're keeping it even. So I'm going to draw mine now. And I'm just going to stick to 5 centimeters again like yesterday because that's easy for me to remember. All right, I've got my square and hopefully you've got yours, and we'll move on to step 2. All right, we're now going to draw a triangle above our square, and because we decided upon, or I decided upon 5 centimeters for the length of my sides for my square, the length of my sides for my triangle also need to be 5 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the corner of my, I might do it on the screen actually, I'll just indicate for you here. From the corner of this part of the square here, I'm going to put my ruler on an angle, and then I'm going to look for 5, my 0 will be here, and then 5 centimeters coming up to this point. And what you want to do is, to make sure your angle is right, is look at that this part here sort of wants to be basically in the middle of this line here, okay? So if I had drawn my line and it was like this, it was going to there, you'll then go to this side and try and do 5 centimeters, and it will cut in there. Your shape won't like look correct. So you want to make sure that when you do the point from 0 to 5 here, that once you get to the top here, that this part is sort of in the middle here. And a good way to do that, just to check, is you can line up your ruler. So you're going from 0 to 5, and then before you actually draw the line, just do a little dot at the top. You can see, hopefully you can see, I don't know if you can see, sorry. Yep, you can see now. So you can see I've got a dot at the top there. That allows me a chance to look and think, yeah, that looks like it's about in the middle before I draw my lines. So I'm going to draw my lines now because I think mine is looking okay. And there we go. I've got my square, and we've got a house at the moment, it looks like, my square and my triangle, and you can see that it's looking pretty nice and even because I kept the sides of my triangle 5 centimeters, and I tried to measure up the lines into the middle of the square as well. So have a go of that now. The square pyramid is a bit trickier than just drawing the net of a cube, so I would suggest you use pencil for this one, and it might take you a couple of goes to get it right. So don't just think, okay, I've done it once and or it doesn't look good, I'm not doing it. This takes practice. That's why this is a skill we're practicing now. So have a couple of goes and don't get defeated if you don't get it on the right on the first time. Just keep having a few practices, and then if you want to show me your work, you can just show me the one that you think is the best out of all the ones you've drawn, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about that. Now you're drawing your triangle on the left side of your square, and a good trick with this one is it's very difficult if I was drawing mine from this page and I just was trying to use my ruler like this. So what I would do, I'm going to turn my page around like that so that where I'm drawing is directly in front of me. So twist your page around so that it's directly in front of you, so that you're not trying to sort of put on an angle and then make a mistake. Right, so there's my one done now. So same again, I'm going to turn my page around so that where I'm drawing the triangle is in front of me. I'm going to start from the 0 on the corner of my square and draw up to 5 centimeters, or do a mark just to double check, and then drawing from the other side again, like that. And now again, I'm going to turn my page around so my triangle is in front of me, and I'm going to draw my last one like so. And there we have it, the finished product. So don't forget that I've been drawing nets of objects for much longer than you, and I was able to do mine in one go because I've had a lot of practice at that. But it might take you a couple of goes to do this, and just try not to get too frustrated. Whatever you can do is okay. And the next one we're going to try is drawing the net of a triangular pyramid. So this one is requiring you to draw, as you can see in the picture here, so one main triangle that is upside down, so the bottom of your base wants to be facing up to the top there, and then you draw your other 3 triangles connected to it, and they will be facing the right way up, so their point will be at the top, and they all are connected to this one original triangle. Step 2 is drawing a triangle to the left of your original triangle. And this should say step 3, sorry, but step 3 is drawing a triangle to the right of your original triangle. And the final step is drawing a triangle above your original triangle, and then you have your net of a triangular pyramid. And your optional activity for today is to choose one of the pictures of the nets below to have a go of drawing by yourself. Good luck. I hope you've had some fun with some of these 3D shape activities or 3D object activities, and you're all doing a really amazing job. So just keep doing what you can.